Erev Tov Chaverim. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with a quick take of Israeli news live on Israel National News. Came out today all about the Temple Mount. Prime Minister Netanyahu is very disturbed over UNESCO's erasing Jewish connection to the Temple Mount. According to the Western Wall, says UN rewriting basic human history. Denying the fact that Israel really has a right there. The article, according to some of the statements here, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blasted the decision divorcing Judaism from the Temple Mount Saturday night after a motion over the weekend only referred to the site with Arabic terminology. This is yet another absurd UN decision. Netanyahu stated late Saturday, UNESCO ignores the unique historic connection of Judaism to the Temple Mount, where the two temples stood for 1,000 years, and to which every Jew in the world has prayed for thousands of years. The UN is rewriting a basic part of human history and has again proven that there is no low to which it will not stoop, he added. UNESCO Executive Board passed a motion Friday referring to the Temple Mount solely as Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Western Wall as Al-Buraq Plaza. Now this, friends, is very concerning to me because when I look at the wording here, we already know, as we've stated quite some time back, they have already divided Israel. They've already divided Jerusalem. We already have a two-state solution. And even in the terminology, the groundwork that's been laid has all been proving this. We've already seen that they have brought in Palestinian police that patrol eastern Jerusalem now. It's no longer just solely to the Israeli Authority. And again, they have already been, speaking of the Western Wall, as the Al-Buraq Plaza. This has been handed over back to Rome. Rome has really gained a lot of control. The article continues out to say, despite being the holiest site in Judaism, the Temple Mount remains under Jordanian jurisdiction. Israeli police, in an attempt to appease the Muslim Waqf, which was left in charge of the Temple Mount compound after 1967 Six Days War, banned Jews from praying or performing any form of worship. And although there has been a major move towards trying to allow a third temple to be built next to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, in some cases it does appear that that will actually happen eventually, or even yet they may end up allowing a third temple to be built instead of on top of the where the Dome of the Rock here is on the Temple Mount. They may end up using that big gigantic piece of property next to the Catholic Church there, where Caiaphas' house used to once sit there, just off from the corner of Mount Zion. I think this is one of the main reasons why there was a push back a few years ago suggesting that this is where the temple actually sat at one time and then was moved. And it's kind of interesting how they're doing so much archaeological work in this area looking for the artifacts. But then again, when you look at the Temple Mount, if you've ever been underneath the Temple Mount on a tour there, you will actually see where those huge stones that made up the Holy of Holies there, the courts and the outer courts there, were thrown down to the bottom. And of course, even as a lot of the description describes there, the stones are cut in such a fashion as would be matching what temple description would be, where the wood actually laid, the cedars, etc. there. So there is some argument for that, but I think the reason the push has been for the temple of not sitting there on top of the Temple Mount there, but the push for trying to say the temple is actually in another location closer to Mount Zion is really in an effort to get the Jewish people to relinquish the rights to the Temple Mount and move the temple over into another area there. And of course, the Vatican owns that area there. They may very well allow them to build a third temple there. Nonetheless, I still think that it's going to be built alongside the Al-Aqsa Mosque eventually. I think that Rome, as well as the Christian community that has joined back in with Rome, I believe that the rabbis of the Temple Institute, as well as some of the Turkish people like Adnan Akhtar, who has been working to bring about the third temple as well. I think all this is going to come together eventually. They're going to build the third temple, and they will say peace and safety, but there's not going to be any peace nor safety. Anyway, we're still working on another broadcast I'm wanting to put together for you. I don't know if we'll get it done this weekend or not, or if it'll be later this week, but tomorrow will be an interesting broadcast, to say the least. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Shalom. Good evening.